Welcome to the show, everyone. Today we're going to be talking about Thanksgiving traditions, where they come from, some of those kind of surprising facts and historical connections. We'll be looking at harvest festivals across different cultures and different time periods. So,
Well, it's amazing how harvest festivals, they're not unique to Thanksgiving, right? They've been around for centuries in all different cultures.
yeah, that's a great point. I've always been fascinated by the origins of Thanksgiving. Like, where do we even begin with all this history?
Well, let's go way back to the ancients. Many ancient cultures, they believed in this corn spirit or a
Hmm.
corn mother, and this resided in the last sheaf of grain.
Okay.
And this was powerful, right? Because it ensured a good harvest the next year.
Wow.
So they would do these like rituals to honor the spirit and make sure it came back. They would, beat the grain to the ground or weave these corn dollies.
Corn dollies. What are corn dollies?
Yeah, these really intricate things
Yeah.
symbolizing the harvest. A way to kind of capture the essence of the grain and keep its spirit alive until the next planting season.
So almost like a good luck charm for the next year.
Exactly. And it shows just how much they respected nature, right? Like this delicate balance between, humanity and the natural world.
Yeah, it makes you wonder if these ancient beliefs, they still have a hold on us today in ways we don't realize.
Absolutely. I mean, take Lammas, for instance, a traditional harvest festival in Britain on August 1st, beginning of the harvest season.
Okay.
They would bake these loaves of bread,
Mm.
fresh from the wheat crop, and they'd offer them to the church as communion bread.
Oh, wow. So it's that act of giving thanks, which is really what Thanksgiving's all about.
Right.
So beyond llamas, how did these harvest festivals evolve, especially in Britain? Was feasting always a part of it?
Oh, feasting has always been a part of it. You go to 16th century England, they have these huge celebrations around that final harvest, a fully laden harvest cart, parading through the village. The reapers are shouting, hooky, hooky,
Hooky, hooky, what's that about?
and the Lord of the Harvest is all dressed up,
Okay.
and he's demanding money from the onlookers.
That's so interesting. What's hooky, hooky all about? It sounds like something out of a play.
Actually, there's this play, Summer's Last Will and Testament by Thomas Nash. And it depicts these celebrations, like singing, drinking, even a hooky hooky song.
Really?
Yeah, it's pretty catchy. But the thing is, nobody really knows where that shout comes from.
Oh, that's funny. I love those little historical mysteries.
Right.
So can you tell me more about the harvest feast itself? What was it like?
Well, the grand feast at the end of the harvest, that was called a harvest supper. It was a way to thank everyone for all their hard work. And there was also a special one, a Mel supper, named after the last patch of corn or wheat left standing.
The very last one.
Yeah, yeah.
Interesting. So was there any superstition around who cut that final patch?
Oh, absolutely. Like they were disturbing the corn spirit by cutting it down. It was this careful balance between honoring the tradition and actually finishing the job. Yeah. They would even race to see who could finish their harvest first.
Oh, wow.
So you can imagine being the first one to cut down that last stand, but then also that superstition hanging over you.
Yeah. It's so cool how they blended work and superstition and celebration all in one.
Exactly. Yeah. It was a time for communities to bond, share the harvest, and really appreciate, where their food came from.
Right. So how did all this come to America and become what we know as Thanksgiving?
Well, the English settlers brought the whole tradition of harvest Thanksgiving with them to North America. And the Pilgrims in 1621, they had this big harvest celebration, which is pretty much considered the first Thanksgiving.
Right. That's the one everyone learns about.
Exact.
But there's obviously a much deeper history.
Oh, for sure. Like the Victorian era had a huge impact on how Harvest Festival is celebrated in churches.
Oh, interesting.
In 1843, this Reverend, Robert Hawker, he started this special Thanksgiving service, which became super popular.
Really?
Yeah. They had Victorian hymns,
Mm.
all about gratitude and abundance, and they'd decorate the churches with homegrown produce.
Oh, so kind of like how we decorate our homes today with all that fall stuff.
Exactly. It's all connected,
It's
right? It's
interrelated.
all symbolic. It wasn't just decoration. It was a way to express thanks for the harvest and show that connection between us and nature.
Yeah, it's amazing how these little details can tell us so much about the past. We've talked about ancient traditions and British customs, but what about other parts of the world? Are there any common themes in harvest festivals across different cultures?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Harvest festivals, they're a global thing. Every culture celebrates in its own way, but it always comes back to the importance of agriculture and that relationship with the land. Like, take Sukkot. That's a Jewish festival. It lasts a whole week, and families build these temporary shelters called supas. They symbolize the Israelites' journey through the wilderness after leaving Egypt.
That sounds really interesting. Is there a tie-in to the harvest with Sukkot?
Oh, definitely. They decorate the sukkahs with branches and fruits and vegetables to represent the bounty of the harvest.
Yeah.
It's a time to think about, God's provision and that joy of being together.
It's cool how they combine history and agriculture in these celebrations.
Yeah.
So besides Sukkot, what are some other harvest festivals from around the world?
Oh, there are tons. Ethiopia has Erecha.
Okay.
It's at the end of the rainy season to give thanks for the rain and a good harvest. Everyone wears these bright colors.
Oh,
They sing, they gather at this lake called Lake Hora Arsadi. It's all about being thankful and celebrating new life.
sounds like a really vibrant festival. What about Asia? Any interesting harvest celebrations there?
Of course, China has the Mid-Autumn Festival.
Okay.
It's on the 15th day of the 8th lunar month. It's when families come together, look at the full moon, and eat mooncakes.
Mooncakes.
Yeah, they're these really ornate pastries
Huh.
with sweet or savory fillings.
Sounds delicious. It's interesting how food is such a big part of harvest celebrations no matter where you go.
Right. Food is like the physical representation of abundance, so it makes sense that it's the center of attention. Whether it's bread, fruit, those fancy pastries, sharing food is how we show thanks, bring people together, and celebrate life.
So it seems like there's this universal desire to show gratitude for nature's generosity and to celebrate hard work. But as we've become less reliant on, like, homegrown produce,
Yeah.
how has that changed the way we celebrate, especially with Thanksgiving?
That's a good question. Our connection to the land has changed. It's more abstract now. And I think there's a growing awareness of the struggles that people in developing countries face, just to produce enough food. Thanksgiving can be a time to really think about our own abundance and how we can help those in need.
It's about going beyond our own tables,
Yeah.
right? And recognizing that we're all part of this global food system.
Exactly. And it's about appreciating those farmers who are out there working hard to feed the world. Thanksgiving is more than just a meal. It's about acknowledging where our food comes from, understanding that web of life that sustains us, and figuring out how we can create a fairer and more sustainable system for everyone.
Yeah, it makes you think about Thanksgiving in a whole new way.
It does, yeah.
So as we get ready for Thanksgiving this year, what are some key things we could focus on, besides the traditional dishes?
Well, I think the biggest thing is to really feel that gratitude. And not just for the food itself, but for everyone and everything that makes it possible. The farmers who grow it, the truck drivers, the people working in the grocery stores. It all comes together to bring food to our tables.
Right, it's easy to forget all that when you're just shopping. You don't really stop and think about how much goes into it.
Exactly. And beyond those people, we need to appreciate the natural world that makes it all happen in the first place. The soil, the sun, the rain, these are what make life possible.
It's about remembering that Thanksgiving isn't just a day, but a way of thinking. Being appreciative, recognizing that we're all connected, feeling grateful.
Absolutely. It's about shifting our perspective, from taking things for granted to really valuing them and recognizing that we're all part of something much bigger than ourselves.
So how can we actually live out this spirit of Thanksgiving in our daily lives?
Well, we can start by being more conscious of our food choices. Shopping at local farmers markets or joining a CSA, that's a great way to connect with the people who grow our food. And it's better for the environment, too, because you're cutting down on transportation and supporting sustainable practices.
That's a great idea. You get to support local farmers and help the environment at the same time. And of course, there's always volunteering at a food bank or donating to organizations that fight hunger.
Definitely. Thanksgiving can remind us that we have a duty to share what we have and make sure everyone has enough to eat. It's about extending that generosity beyond our own circle and seeing the needs of others.
So we've talked about the history of Thanksgiving, how different cultures celebrate harvest festivals, and even some practical ways to bring that gratitude into our lives. As we wrap up, what's the main message you'd like our listeners to take away?
I think the most important thing is to remember that Thanksgiving is about connection. Connecting with our loved ones, connecting with where our food comes from, connecting with nature. It's a time to celebrate those connections and realize how much we depend on each other.
It's easy to lose sight of that when things get so busy around the holidays. But yeah, just taking a moment to appreciate those connections can really change things. It's not just about the food, right? It's about the people who made it, the earth that grew it, everyone we get to share it with.
Exactly. Thanksgiving gives us that chance to really think about all those things.
So instead of focusing on just eating a lot, maybe Thanksgiving can be a chance to think about things differently. like appreciating what we have instead of taking it for granted.
I think so. It's about respecting the things we have, recognizing that our choices affect other people and the planet. We can choose to make Thanksgiving about generosity and abundance, not just eating a ton of food.
That definitely adds a whole new meaning to the holiday.
It does.
It's not just about enjoying the meal, but about understanding where we fit in and the impact we have.
And understanding that we can make a difference through being mindful, thankful, and generous.
Well, I think you've given everyone a lot to think about as they get ready for Thanksgiving. Any last thoughts for our listeners?
I would say, as you gather with your family and friends this Thanksgiving, just take a moment to appreciate the simple joy of being together. Sharing a meal, having good conversations, making memories, those are the things that really matter. And remember, that spirit of Thanksgiving doesn't have to end with the holiday. It can inspire us to be kind, generous, and thankful all year round.
That's a great reminder. Thank you so much for sharing your insights today. It's been a really fascinating conversation.
It was my pleasure.
And to all of you listening, thanks for joining us on this exploration of Thanksgiving traditions. We hope you've learned something new and maybe even found a new way to think about this special holiday. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving filled with warmth, gratitude, and connection.